everyone. It is a Monday morning, and I can't think of a better way to start this week off than with an interview with Elizabeth LaBan. And I hope I'm saying that name right. She will correct me. I will ask her. But anyway, her newest book is called Not Perfect, and I cannot wait to talk to her about this book. I read it on my Kindle because I wanted to hug the book. Did you ever do that? I do it all the time. You guys see me. Whenever I love a book, I hug it. And I wish I could hug this book because it was so good. I loved it, every word of it. So I can't wait to tell her that. Can't wait to tell her how much I loved it. I love doing that. I love that my job is to tell people how much I love their books. It's a great job. So anyway, everyone, here is Elizabeth. Hi everyone, I am so excited to be speaking with author Elizabeth LaBan. And you know what I wanted to ask you, LaBan?
So it's LaBan.
LaBan, okay.
LaBan, yeah.
I was trying to be all formal about it.
Everybody always wants to make it more formal than it is really. It's funny.
But we're in Pennsylvania and LaBan, I would say that anyway, so.
Yeah, everybody always wants to pronounce it another way. It's true.
Well, I am so excited because we're going to be talking about her book, and she has it right there, and it's called Not Perfect, and it just came out in January. Show them the cover, because I love this cover. Oh my gosh.
Thank you. Can you see it?
Yes, perfect.
Oh, thank you.
I'm so happy that I found you, and I mean that in the sincerest way, because some people are like, I said that to a guy just recently, and he's like, well, I am quite popular. I'm like,
oh.
But
I won't say that.
But I'm just saying there are so many authors, and when I find people, and I find their books, and they're so good, it just makes me so happy. So,
thank you. Thank you so much.
And I feel like I'm so blessed to read this book, and I loved every word of this book. Okay.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you for saying that.
I don't know. I think I related to it now. I've been a single mom. Okay. I have 6 children, and I'm a single mom again. But my kids are older now, but when I was raising my oldest children, I was a single mom, and I kind of wasn't exactly, but you just hit a nerve with me that I just connected with Tabitha on such a level that, and I was reading some of the reviews. I never read reviews before I read the book, right?
Okay.
And I went back, and some women were like, oh, I don't know if I would have made those choices. And I was like, yeah, you haven't been there. Okay.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
Yeah, because I don't think you can say that. I really don't. And everybody wants to put down the mom, which, and now my daughter has children, and it's even worse because they're on social media now. I am so happy that I did not have social media in the day.
Yes.
because moms, why are moms like that? We're so critical of every decision that we make.
Yeah,
like, well, I wouldn't make that decision. It's like, how do you know? How do you know what decision you'd make? Exactly.
Right. Yeah, no, that's such a good question. And my kids are a little older now too, 16 and 18. Mm-hmm. But I always did have that sense of competition among moms.
Yeah, it's almost like, I remember even simple things like, feeding them lunch.
Yes.
It's like, oh, you let your kids eat chips?
Yeah. Right. Oh my gosh, you're not kidding. Yes.
It's just, I don't know.
There's a lot of that goes on.
I was one of those, kind of laid-back moms. But I don't know. You know what? My mom, think about it. I don't think you're as old as I am. But I was raised with a mom that, gave birth in 1964. She smoked. Yeah. She drank. Whatever we ate was just whatever we ate.
Yeah. Oh, no. I know. I think about that, how different things were and what I sort of dealt with as a child. Yeah. That seems so normal then.
Right. And then, we think we're doing so much better because we're like, no, you can only have half the bag of chips. You can't eat the whole bag.
Right.
I don't know. But like I said, my daughter, I see the struggles and my daughter-in-law's, because everything's on picture, everything's a picture. And then it's like, oh, well, why were they doing that? Why were they doing that? Why were they? So the decisions that you had her making, I found it really interesting because like I said, I've been there, and it's like you're like, okay, what should I spend money on? What shouldn't I spend money on? How do I deal? And her constant worrying, it brought me back to those days. Like, you know, you're just like, can I worry enough about these
Yes.
children?
Yeah, no, she is a big worrier, and I'm also a worrier, so I could relate to that part of her. And also, you know, she worries about different things from the things I worry about. Some similar things. I mean, the welfare of her children, of course. But for her, some of the details are different from my life. But that idea of worrying, that was something that I could really connect to,
Yeah.
and sort of understood, you know, really knew Tabitha in that way.
Yeah, I really connected with her, and I don't do spoilers,
Thanks.
so I kept trying to think of different things I wanted to tell you that I love, but it's like you have to be careful because I don't want to give anything away. But we do know in the very beginning that her husband Stuart, who
Yes.
we all hate,
Yeah.
he leaves her. We don't know why. We find out
Right.
why, but we don't know why. But he leaves her in this really bad situation, and
Yes.
you know, her life went from one way to another way, and that's kind of what happened to me. And that's why I'm saying, like, people who say, "Oh, I wouldn't have done that." Okay, well, she didn't really like she didn't plan. Like, what am I going to do if everything just falls apart?
Right.
You know?
Right. Of course, she didn't ever expect that to happen.
Right. So that's what I loved about her, is she was just trying to figure it out, and you know, and that's what I don't know. I thought she was cute. I laughed at a lot of parts. I mean,
oh, thank you.
I thought it was really, really a cute book, and I picked out a quote that I liked. There were like 4 of them, but they gave too much away, so I had to pick the one that gave the least away.
Okay. Thank you.
No, this book is full. Everybody who loves quotes, this book is full of them, okay? But this is from sort of the beginning. But I love this. It says, "We've all done things we're sorry we did, things that if we could do over, we might do in a different way. Not a single one of us has a clean record. Not a single one of us is perfect." Which, you know, it goes right along with the title. You know, you find that not perfect. And, you know, we were all striving to be that I loved it because it's like, we were trying to be perfect, you know?
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
I have children that have children now. Okay, I have lots of grandchildren. And they'll come, they used to be really critical until they had children.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Mom, you let me walk alone to this place, and do you realize that was a bad area of Allentown? And I'm like, no, I didn't know. I had no idea. I thought it was a good area.
Right.
So if I think I tried to protect my children, I think the next generation, I think they're even more, you know, protective of their children, you know?
Yeah, no, it's true. And I mean, for Tabitha, so much is going on there.
Yes.
And you know, when she chose to get married to Stuart, and you learn this as the book goes on, you learn more about their history, how they came together. But she really did think she was making a great choice.
Yes.
Because of some details, you know, that they sort of were compatible. They both wanted to have fish a certain amount of times each week to be healthy. They both wanted to have the same amount of kids. Yeah. So these are things that, you know, helped her make the decision to marry him. And she thought she was going to have this stability. There's every reason for her to believe that. And then as the book begins, we see that is not true. And as the book goes on, she has many revelations about, you know, what her marriage really was, and was it ever perfect?
Right. And I've had 2 husbands, okay? And I can say with both of them, if, you know, the kids would say, well, why did you marry, you know, Brian, my first husband? I'm like, well, we were high school sweethearts. We said we were going to get married, so then we did.
Right. Right.
That's why I love that line, because it was like, you don't really, sometimes when you're doing that, you don't really think past that. It's like that simple. Yeah. It makes that much sense at the time.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. And you don't realize there's no way to have the perspective to know what goes into possibly making a successful marriage. And I am happily married, and we just celebrated our 20th anniversary. And I truly believe that much of it is luck that you'll grow together, you know, that you'll continue to like each other after 20 years. And you know, you make your best guess when you choose to marry somebody. Yes. If you know somebody longer, maybe you have a better chance, maybe not. So I do think there's so much luck involved. I still think that. I mean, I think that in my daily life. And I think that's true for Tabitha, and she did not have that lucky part that you need.
Right, and it's not like she knew that. You know, she thought she was, and that's what I always think too, like looking back on my relationships, it's like, I thought that I was doing the right thing. I did not think that. I mean, duh, like, of course we did. Like, why else would you do it? You know, if you didn't think you were making a good decision. So I did love that part. I did laugh out loud at that part.
Oh, thank you.
But what I loved about this book, and this is not a spoiler, but I want everybody because I don't want you to jump ahead because you won't get it anyway. So don't jump ahead. But the ending, I couldn't get out of my head. Okay, like I lived with it all weekend. I really did because I was telling people, like, you know, and I used the same words that you did. It was like this lesson that she then discovers about not being perfect and about how to live our daily life. Like, I love how you tied that all up at the end. And
thank you.
It was so good. So everybody, just don't skip ahead because it won't mean anything anyway. That's what I always tell people. You'll read it, but you won't care. So you have to read the whole story to understand, like, how she gets from the beginning of the book to the end of the book. Like, I don't know.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. And I saw that, I mean, this is like your 4th or 5th book.
Yeah, so it's my 5th book and my 4th novel.
4th novel. And then, okay, so I saw that you had written a grandparent's handbook. And I'm a grandparent, and I'm a grandma now. And I was like, oh my God, I should read that because, I don't know, I'm sure there are lots of things I don't know. And I was like, how did you come to write that?
Yeah, no, that's such a good question. And so that was my first book, and it's nonfiction. And I was lucky enough to be offered the opportunity to write it, but I'm not a grandparent, and I wasn't then. So there was a lot of discussion about how to make it relevant. And so my father-in-law and my mother, who has since died, my father-in-law is still with us, and he's wonderful. Right. My mother died shortly after we worked on the book together. And so they talk to grandparents all around the country. They have a lot of quotes that are in the book. You know, what it's like to have grandchildren, what grandchildren mean. They had a ton of ideas. And they really were a big part of writing it, which was so great and so much fun. And then the rest of the book, much of the book that I did by myself, really a few tidbits of information, but really a lot of activities and fun things to do with your grandkids that really you could do with your kids or your, nieces and nephews. It doesn't have to be grandchildren. And a lot of ways to tie in family history. Whether through doing like a family newspaper or doing a quilt together with family heirlooms. So it was just a lot of fun to talk to my mom at the time and my father-in-law, and also just come up with all these ideas. So that was my first book that was published.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I know, like, you can't understand how it's going to be until you actually, like, I had no idea how having grandchildren was going to be for me. But the grandmother that I was the closest to, her and I crochet. She taught me how to crochet, and to this day I crochet. Now my daughters didn't want to, but now I look at my granddaughters and think, maybe maybe they'll learn how to crochet. But I love that. Like, it's just something, and I didn't know it at the time. It was just something she did, and I liked watching her, and then she taught me, and then I just kept it on with it, So it's like whenever I crochet, I think about her because I'm like,
yeah, no, that's amazing. Yes, that's amazing.
Yeah, that I can think now.
What a great connection.
Yeah, and I make my grandchildren all kinds of stuff, like Christmas, birthday. I'm like always making blankets and stuff, but I don't know. So when I saw that, I was like, and it was such a different. Everybody has like this different relationship, I think, too, with their grandparents. Like my other grandmother was completely different, but just as awesome. So whenever I do get to see my grandchildren, I try to make it like something, like,
so great. Yeah.
Even if it's playing cards.
It's just sort of a lot of, ways to share activities and time with your grandkids.
Yeah, like even if it's reading or drawing or some coloring with them. Because you know what? That's the one thing, like when you're raising your kids, you try to do that stuff, but you've got like laundry and cooking, but when I'm with them, I can just color. Like, because I don't have to do the other stuff.
Honestly, that's the whole point of the book. Exactly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that everybody, that moms and dads and, daily caretakers are so busy that there just isn't the time. And with grandparents, if you're lucky, they can completely focus.
Yeah.
And spend the time. Yes. So that's something that we talked about a lot in the book. And my mother had, wrote something, and my father-in-law wrote something. So that's all in there.
Well, I'm definitely going to look at it because
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you.
I will definitely be doing that. But I also saw like was it your first? I'm looking at the dates and they're kind of the tragedy paper. Yes, that book was like that did fantastic. Like it was out there in all different languages, and I mean that must have been amazing for you because not everybody gets their debut novel like with such great.
That was really lucky. So that's my only young adult book to date, and it's called The Tragedy Paper, and it has been translated into a number of different languages, and that was just a thrill. So I mean that's a story about students at a private school outside of New York City who are studying Greek and Shakespearean tragedy, and then their own personal tragedy unfolds. And I loved writing that. I loved the story. I loved building the world of the school. And so that was just a thrill to write that and have it, be published.
Right. What was the difference between when you wrote the YA and then going to more, adult subjects?
Well, so interestingly enough, my first women's fiction novel, which was published in 2015 and is called The Restaurant Critic's Wife, that was the first novel that I ever started to write. So that came before the Grandparents' Handbook. It came before the Tragedy Paper. And I wrote it in a much slower way. In real life, I am married to a restaurant critic.
I know. I was like, is it kind of like an autobiography or?
So it's not. It's not. The main characters in the book are very different from us, and they have a lot more tension and a lot more issues. But some of it, the moments in restaurants and sort of the overall reality of what it is like to be a restaurant critic and be married to a restaurant critic, that started in a real place.
Right.
So that was a very different book to write because I had all these ideas and moments, but then I really wrote the story sort of almost after that. And I wanted, the main characters are Lila and Sam is totally wacky and controlling in a way my husband is not. So to really add drama and, create a novel, I had to change things. I mean, if I wrote about us, it would be, or the moments in the restaurants might be funny, but it would be pretty boring because we don't have as much tension. There's nothing to really push back against. I had to give Lila something to really push back against. So I started working on that, and I worked on that for years. And in the meantime, I had the opportunity to write the Grandparents' Handbook, and my agent, my literary agent who represents me and my work, said, why don't you try to write a young adult book? I think, the market is good, and I think you could do it. Your voice might work for that. So that's really sort of when I left The Restaurant Critic's Wife alone for a little while and went and wrote the Tragedy Paper. And then I went back to The Restaurant Critic's Wife. So was it different? It's not different. I don't feel that I, dumb down a YA book because it's for a younger audience. And it isn't even necessarily because so many adults do read.
I was going to say, I read YA.
Yeah, I do too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the difference is that the characters are a different age. So they have a different voice. And I tried to be mindful of that. But other than that, it was just sort of the story, and writing that story. It wasn't really a different experience. I didn't think in a different way.
Right. I always think that if I were to do that, like a YA, I'd be following my teenagers around and trying to copy their slang.
Yes.
But that changes too much. Like you got to stay away, because they're constantly...
It changes all the time, and things that I said to mean certain things when I was a teenager.
Right.
Now there's different ways to say it. So you do have to be mindful of that. At the same time, you want a book to be sort of timely. So even if I get it right in this moment, in 10 years, it's going to be something different.
Right.
So you want it to work no matter what and have the reader know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So is it fun being a restaurant critic's wife?
It is extremely fun.
I think that'd be so much fun.
I mean, even after all this time, I still love to eat out. Before we had kids, I would go to every single meal. Then when the kids were little, I went to fewer. But now my daughter's in college and my son's in high school. So now I go to most. I mean, I don't go to all. But my husband eats out for work at night 2 to 3 times a week. And it's just very normal for us now.
So it's
a lot of fun.
You know how you always see in TV shows, like they know the restaurant. Like, do they know he's a critic? Or does he kind of
So he never announces himself. He never makes a reservation in his own name. We tend not to use our phones, but we've been in Philadelphia now for almost 20 years, and it's a huge city, but it's also a really small city. So yes, there are times we go in and we think somebody knows he's there, but not always.
So cool.
Sometimes we go in and it's a busy restaurant, they're not looking for him, and we're totally missed. But he prefers to not be spotted because his hope is to really have the same experience anyone would have. He doesn't want special treatment.
Right. And I think what's cool is like all the new places that open up you get to know about. Like,
oh yeah, yes, he's always, and he doesn't go immediately. He lets a restaurant sort of settle in a little bit. So he has his own sort of timeline, and then he'll go. But yeah, we're always talking about the new restaurants and what's coming up and what's going to open.
Yeah.
Philadelphia is a great food city.
Right. It's more than just cheesesteaks, everybody.
Oh my gosh, yeah, some very good cheesesteaks, but much more than that.
More than just that. And it's like, where do they, that used to be a newspaper thing. Does he still write for a newspaper, but is it like online?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no, he's the restaurant critic for the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Oh, okay. So all right.
So there is a review that's printed in the printed paper every week. And now, of course, as time has gone on, he has a much more an online presence where there's an online chat and all of that. So it's a combination of both. And of course his reviews are online.
I would think that'd be so much more fun, like to be online. I don't know. But I thought
so. It's a combination of both.
Yeah, that's such a cool thing. I had to ask about it because I think it's so cool. But,
thank you.
Anyway, what are you writing now? What's coming?
So actually today, I'm working. So then the book that came after The Restaurant Critic's Wife was called Pretty Little World that I wrote with a writing partner. And that's about three families who live on a small street in Philadelphia. They're best friends. They live in row homes in a row, and they take down the walls between their houses and live in a secret commune. And sort of what goes right and what goes wrong and what lines are crossed. So my writing partner, Melissa DePino, so she and I have written another book that we're just, finishing up and putting the finishing touches on. And hope to sell to the same editor. And then I just am finishing a proposal for a novel I would write alone that I hope to get to my agent actually tomorrow. And he'll read it, and if he thinks it's good enough, he'll send it to my editor. And my great hope is that she'll like it and want to publish it.
Yeah, and I see a lot more people are doing the writing together and then writing alone. That's becoming very popular. And there's a lot of... I don't know if you ever heard of Liz and Lisa.
Oh, I'm reading their book right now. Do I even have it? The most recent one, The Good Widow. I'm just finishing it. In fact, I was thinking, can I sit and read today, or do I have to work? I have to work, but I want to finish. I'm toward the end. I'm really into it. Yes, I love their book.
And they're so cute because they've been like best friends forever.
Yes.
And so the woman that you're writing with, was that your situation? Like you guys were best friends, and then
so she and I are great friends, and we're neighbors. And we've known each other for 18 years, and we met when our kids were, she didn't even have kids yet, when my daughter was tiny, and we've just been great friends since then. So we just love to write together and just love to see each other in general. It's not always about the writing. Sometimes we'll get together to write and we won't even get to it. We'll just talk about our kids and talk about life and then say, okay, let's try this again tomorrow.
Well, and it's so cool because you don't really have to be together. I mean, you can write and then send her it and then she can.
Yes.
I don't know. I think it's really cool. I've read a lot of the collaborations of different women. I think it always, because then you can build the story with somebody else. Like
exactly. Because writing is so solitary. Yeah. I sit here alone. I mean, I'll read things out loud to my husband to make sure that they're working. But when I write with Melissa, it's such a different experience because we do build on each other's work. And we spend a lot of time talking, and then she or I will begin a chapter and finish it and then send it to the other who will read it and build on that. So it's a wonderful way to write.
Well, you can, when it's all done and getting ready, you can send it to me. I will read it. We can talk
that's
about
so nice. Thank you.
We can invite her since she's a neighbor. We can talk, all three talk. It'll be
fun. Yeah, that's so nice. Thank you.
Yeah. So I show everybody the picture of Not Perfectly Young because I do love this cover so much. and I want everybody to see it. Yeah, what a perfect cover for her.
Oh,
I
thank
love
you.
it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so it was so nice to meet you, Elizabeth. Thank
Oh my
you.
gosh, thank you so much. It was so nice to talk with you.
Yeah, I hope we'll be chatting again soon. Let's keep in touch.
I look forward to it. Thanks so much.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I just want to thank you for watching that video. Wasn't she so cute? I mean, I was not kidding. This book is really, really good. And I'm so happy that I got to know her, got to meet her. I'm going to read her other books, especially the grandparent book. I definitely want to read that one. So everyone, it is not perfect. And thank you for watching. Please hit like if you enjoyed watching us. And if you'd like to get updates on all my videos, please hit subscribe.